Hare Krishna, devotees. Thank you for joining this morning Bhagavatam's reading. So let us offer prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachasya Desatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let us offer invocation prayers for the Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Susrasho Sraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi San Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat Srunvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Padayantastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Saharusatam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभादयश्च चेतयेतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगता भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते सास्य कर्माणि दृष्टा एवात्मनीश्वरे. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you all once again for joining this morning's Bhagavatam reading. So we are continuing with our daily Srimad Bhagavatam reading. This morning we will read from Canto 3, Chapter 16, the doorkeepers of um, Vaikunta, Jaya and Vijay, cursed by the sages. Verse 22. Verse 22. Dharmasya te bhagavastriyuga tribhisvai padbhis padbhischaracharam idam dvijat devatartham nonam dhrutam tad abhigathi rajastamascha satvirano vardhaya tanuva nirashya nirashyam. Once again. Dharmasya te bhagavatas triyuga tribhisvai पद्भिश्चराचरम् इदं द्विज देवतार्थं नूनं वृतं तद् अभिघाति रजस्तमश्च सत्त्वेरनो वर्धया तनुवा निरस्याम्. Word meanings. Dharmasya, of the personification of all religion. Te, of you. Bhagavata, of the supreme personality of Godhead. Triyuga, you who are manifest in all three millenniums. Tribhi by three, Swai your own, Padbihi feet, Characharam animate in inanimate, Idam this universe, Dvija the twice born, Devata the demigods, Artham for the sake of, Nunam however, Brutam protected, Tat those feet, Abhigati destroying, Raja the mode of passion, Tama the mode of ignorance, Cha and Satvena of pure goodness, Na unto us, Paradaya bestowing all blessings, Tanuva by your transcendental form, Nirasya driving away. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in three millenniums, and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of pure goodness and is the bestower of all beings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and the twice born. Purport. The Lord is addressed in this verse as Three Yuga, or one who appears in the three millenniums, namely the Satya, Dwapara, and Treta Yugas. He is not mentioned as appearing in the fourth millennium or Kali Yuga. It is described in the Vedic literature that in Kali Yuga he comes as Chana avatar or an incarnation, but he does not appear as a manifest incarnation. In the other yugas, however, the Lord is a manifest incarnation and therefore he is addressed as Three Yuga, or the Lord who appears in three yugas. Sridhara Swami describes three yuga as follows. Yuga means couple, and three means three. The Lord is manifested as three couples by his six opulences, or three couples of opulences. In that way, he can be addressed as three yuga. The Lord is the personality of religious principles. In the three millenniums, religious principles are protected by the three kinds of spiritual culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. The Lord is called Three Yuga in that way also. In the age of Kali, these three requisites to the spiritual culture are almost absent. But the Lord is so kind that in spite of Kali Yugas being devoid of these three spiritual qualities, he comes and protects the people of this age in his covered incarnation as Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is called covered because although he is Krishna himself, he presents himself as a devotee of Krishna, not directly Krishna. The devotees pray to Lord Chaitanya, therefore, to eliminate their stock of passion and ignorance, the most conspicuous assets of this yuga. In the Krishna consciousness moment, one cleanses himself by the modes of passion and ignorance by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, as introduced by Lord Chaitanya. The four Kumaras were cognizant of their situation in the modes of passion and ignorance because, although in Vaikuntha they wanted to curse devotees of the Lord, since they were conscious, the four Kumaras were cognizant of their situation in the modes of passion and ignorance because, although in Vaikuntha they wanted to curse the devotees of the Lord. Since they were conscious of their own weakness, they prayed to the Lord to remove their still existing passion and ignorance. The three transcendental qualifications, cleanliness, austerity, and mercy, are the qualifications of the twice born and the demigods. Those who are not situated in the quality of goodness cannot accept these three principles of spiritual culture. For the Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, there are three sinful activities which are prohibited: illicit sex, intoxication, and eating anything other than prasad, food offered to Krishna. These three prohibitions are based on the principles of austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. Devotees are merciful because they spare the poor animals, and they are clean because they are free of the contamination from unwanted foodstuff and unwanted habits. Austerity is represented by its restricted sex life. These principles, indicated by the prayers of the four Kumaras, should be followed by the devotees who are engaged in Krishna consciousness. Very nice verse. We are continuing the continue to read the prayers of these Kumaras to the Lord. So we all know the background. So uh, I mean, what happened in this was they're asking the main thing is that kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas. Right. So why did the Kumaras curse Jaya and Vijaya? So in the last chapter we heard in verse 33. It actually in the verse 33 of the 15th chapter it says in the Vaikuntha there should be complete harmony between the residents and in the supreme personality of Godhead. So there should not be any kind of fear, right? So just here it says, just as there is a complete harmony within the space between the big and the small skies, why then there is a seed of fear in this field of harmony? So they are saying that why there is a fear of these people who are not allowing them to enter into Vaikuntha, right? They are stopping the sages, the Kumaras. So these persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, where from can they? But where from can their disharmony come into existence? So they are not supposed to be in this. I mean, I mean Vaikuntha plant because there should be complete harmony, and but they are showing the fearfulness here because they are not allowing somebody to enter into it. Right? They came all the way. So then they are saying that in the next verse, therefore, let us punish these people aptly. Right? So then they will go to the material world. So that is the place where they can have this kind of fear and all. So I mean, if we see, I was just thinking because he did not do any fault from the doorkeeper's perspective, and then the sages got angry. So but what about the anger which is not supposed to be there in Vaikuntha as well, right? Because it's the quality of Rajas and Tamas. So then that is how the sages realized after the Lord spoke to them so nicely in the last few verses, right? So they could not understand the Lord is praising them or even correcting them. So but of course the Lord is Lord. So but then they were kind of understood, they're very intelligent, they're gnanis, right? So they understood that it is they also made a mistake. So they got angry and cursed them. So that is also not expected in Vaikuntha, right? So because it is poor faultless, and then uh, this quality of anger is coming from either, I mean, Rajas and Tamas. So that's why they are asking the Lord to they're praying to the Lord to free them from this Rajas and Tamas. So then they started with saying that the personification of religion, right? So we are the personification of religion. So I was thinking, what is this personification? So I was looking at the dictionary meaning of it. It says the representation of an abstract quality or idea in the form of a person or a creature, etc. It says in the form of a person or a creature. So that means there is some quality that is there, that is out there. So it is imbibed or manifested in a person, right? So that is, I mean, now it says personification of religion. So there are so many religious principles are out there, right? I mean, is it possible for somebody? I mean, of course, religion also comes from the Lord. So just by looking at the books, right, without having any examples out there, if it is just a theory or if it is just a principles, can anybody understand what uh, anything is? Just forget about the religion. So there has to be a person representing or giving an example, right? So okay, this, for example, uh, being humility, humble, right? So I mean, if somebody explains what is humble without giving an example, I mean, nobody will understand, right? I mean, we may it may look like we understand, but we make a mistake again, or we misunderstand and misapply that humility, right? So but if they give an example of somebody who presented or who exhibited humility. So, I mean, various examples, one will understand what is that humility is about, right? Same thing with, I mean, any other quality, right? Being even truthful. So, the Lord is the personification of all these qualities, I mean, all these principles, especially the religious principles. So, he was, I mean, we'll take an examples of being truthful. So, if generally when we say being truthful, don't lie, right? So, I mean, we should not lie. So, that is the principle. But when it comes to the Lord, so he told Yudhishthira Maharaj to tell a lie, right, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra to because he wanted to kill Dronacharya. right? So, but then, if is that a right religious principle according to religious principles or not? Right, one may question, if somebody doesn't understand the personality of the Lord, or the Lord is the personification of religion, so one will misunderstand that, oh yeah, it is not right, right? So it is a mistake, it is against the religious principles. Or even Rama killing Vali, or even Arjuna killing Karna, right, in the battlefield, when it was not against it is actually not as a principle. But when Lord does something, because he is the personification of religion, it is doesn't have any kind of negative impact, because he is the one who representing those principles, right? So dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, right? That verse we are, I mean, those are enacted by the supreme personality of Godhead. So he knows what is right, what is wrong. So one has to follow the Lord, or his pure devotees, or somebody who has those qualities to understand what those real qualities means. Otherwise one will misunderstand, or one will misapply those. So that's why it says personification of religion. That's how they started their prayer, right? So you are the personification of religion. So then here, I mean, more than what they know, it is actually what the Lord is showing is the right thing for them, right? So because they are thinking that these people are not supposed to be fearful, or they start that they, because of fear they stopped them, but the Lord is coming and giving a kind of apologizing, and saying that he is going to even ready to cut off his hand for the mistake that his servants did. And he is giving lot of very humble way he was talking about it. Of course that doesn't make the Lord any way inferior, but then of course the now Kumaras understood that the Lord is the one who is the personification of religion. He is, whatever he is doing is the right thing. So of course even the stealing the butter, right? So I mean generally stealing is bad thing, but when the Lord does it is very sweet, right? So then the second part they say here is the Tri Yuga. So Prabhupada explains nicely in the purport. So I mean, why the Lord is called as Tri Yuga. So because in the there are four yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, right? So as we know, and then the Lord manifests or the exhibits his qualities as the Lord in other three yugas, right? Except Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, I mean, because if he doesn't appear in one of the yugas, then his own words of Paritranaya Sadhunam in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinashaya Dushkrutam Dharma Samsthapanadhaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So that doesn't have any meaning if he doesn't appear when he needs to appear, right? So because if he's just completely leaving people of Kali Yuga by themselves, so it is not a right thing. So he's appears even in the Kali Yuga, but he doesn't exhibit as the Lord. I mean, primarily during the Kali Yuga, at the end of Kali Yuga, he comes as a Kalki, exhibits, he destroys all the people that are not necessary to be there. But then during this Lord Chaitanya's incarnation, he doesn't exhibit as the Lord, because if somebody calls him as the Lord, he closes, I mean, he was closing his ears, and he doesn't want him to be called as the Lord, right? Because he understands. Actually, Prabhupada gives very nice purport in the. This is where even the Prahlad Maharaj also prays in 7:9:38. Let me view that. That is a nice purport and translation. Actually, the translation goes in this way, my Lord. I mean, he was explaining about all the incarnations. Prahlad Maharaj saying, you appear in various to Narsingadev. You appear in various incarnations as a human being, as an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise. Thus, maintain the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demonic principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principles of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore you are the known as Tri Yuga, as the Lord who appears in three yugas. Actually, in the purport, Prabhupada very nicely explains a lot of details. There are four yugas or millenniums: Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. In all the yugas, but Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in various incarnations and asserts himself as the supreme personality of Godhead. But although Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appears in Kali Yuga, is the supreme personality of Godhead, he never asserted himself as such. On the contrary, whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as being as good as Krishna, he blocked his ears with his hands, denying his identity with Krishna. because he was playing the part of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya knew that in Kali Yuga there would be so many bogus incarnations pretending to be God, and therefore he avoided asserting himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, in many Vedic literatures, especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam, then Prabhupada quotes this Krishna Varnam Tusa Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam, right? Yajna Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Sumedasa. How in this age of Kali, the congregational chanting of the holy name is spread by the Supreme Lord Himself. So, in this incarnation, and he is followed, I mean, he is accompanied by his associates and all. He doesn't look like a, I mean, his complexion is not black, but he is Krishna himself. So, right, so intelligent people worship him or follow him. So, I mean, that's how the Chana avatar or the three yuga is Prabhupada is giving the explanation in this verse as well as in the seventh canto verse. And the Kumaras here are very learned personalities, right? As we know, they are jnanis. So, but then they were asking about to take away this quality of, I mean, anartha of anger, right? I mean, the quality, the anartha that come arise from this, anartha that arise from the lower modes. So, I mean, what it gives us is that, I mean, any quality without the, I mean, a devotee will be able to get rid of some of the bad qualities by practicing or by following the rules and regulations. So, but the final tinges of those anarthas can only be removed by the Supreme Lord Himself, right? I mean, the Lord will come as a person and cleanses the heart. I mean, 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we heard that he removes those final anarthas that are there in the heart of a devotee, right? So that is very evident here. I mean, because even though Kumaras are so great personalities, but still they got angry for a, I mean, for a simple, there is no reason for them to get angry there, because but they got angry, but it shows that the Lord has to come in person and take away that anartha. That's how they're praying. So then Prabhupada gives that four pillars of religion, but of course he talks about only three in this purport, right? Austerity, cleanliness, and mercy, and truthfulness is the fourth one. So in four yugas, these four principles are of religion are like a four legs, right? So, but those other than truthfulness, to some extent, it is existing in the Kali Yuga. That is also deteriorating, but the other three doesn't kind of almost exist in Kali Yuga. So those three legs of the religion are cut, right? So but how can one still follow the principles of dharma by being in this age? So that's why Prabhupada gave these regulative principles, right? Four regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. So those are aligned with those four principles of religion, right? So if, I mean, then one may ask, well, if I follow these four principles, four regulative principles, can I be a dharmic? Right? Can I be a person of following dharma? Of course, the answer is yes. But is it possible to follow dharma, follow these regulative principles without anything else? Right? That's why Prabhupada says actually, by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one will be able to follow these regulative principles, and then one will be able to follow the dharma in this case. So otherwise, one may try, but after some time, one will not be able to succeed in following. I mean, of course, it is not very easy to follow the regulative principles. We all understand it's not very easy, right? So, I mean, it's very simple things, basic things, but it's very difficult to follow unless one really seriously chants the holy name of the Lord. So that's why, I mean, this verse, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nastiva, Nastiva, Nastiva Gatiranyata. So it doesn't talk about those following those principles, then one will become, that is the way, but it talks about chanting the holy name of the Lord is the only way to purify oneself in this age of Kali, right? By chanting the holy names of the Lord, one will be able to follow those regulative principles and one will be able to follow Dharma also, right? So in this age, that is the only way of purifying oneself in this age of Kali, right? Chanting the holy names of the Lord. Yeah, so those are the three things I was kind of getting it from this verse. So, O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in 3 million names, and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. by your grace, which is of a pure goodness and is the bestower of all beings, all blessings, sorry, which is of a pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born. So in the earlier verses, the Lord was praying, right? I mean, his devotees are very dear to him. There at his lotus feet. But then here, those devotees are praying to the Lord. So very nice exchange between them. So that's all I have. 3 more minutes we have. Devotees, if you would like to correct and add some things, please share. So, this section of Bhagavatam is one of my favorite sections, especially the Jaya Vijaya. I know it is a very confusing or conflicting or difficult to understand because my challenge with this section is actually there is no fault in Jaya and Vijaya, but some of the acharyas comment as, I mean, there is a fault. I mean, of course, you can see, but they are during their duty. But yeah, sages are very great. I mean, they're very great personalities, but then they kind of got angry as well, right? So on the Kumaras. But it's very sweet when the Lord comes and does everything. It is very very nicely ends up. So thank you. Prabhu, we can't hear you. You're speaking. Radha Kunji Behar, Prabhu.
Can you hear me now?
Like maybe we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
One second. Prabhuji, I joined the class late, but you know, um,
Again, we lost you, Prabhu. Oh, it dropped down. I think he's having some internet challenges. Okay. Anyone else have any other points, corrections? Okay. There is nothing to. Is it my internet issue? Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought mine also just flashed the Zoom, so I was thinking I had some issues. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everyone. Swancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Wonderful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna.